Hey, what's up, fantasy people? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Banjo, the dog, coming at you live from my garage. And this is the Fantasy Footballin' Show. Today's episode, we're going to go over wide receivers versus running backs, test number 2. So we are going over who you should draft. It's a big debate right now. Right now in fantasy mock drafts, I have noticed, because, in the beginning, one of the first things I learned, like right after the Super Bowl, or I think it was like March, when mock drafts just became available, was that running backs were going way late. So in people's minds, right after last season, people valued wide receivers over running backs early rounds. And now I'm noticing a lot of running backs getting pushed into the first and second round again. So there were no elite wide receivers available in the beginning in like the third round. And now, dude, there's like 3 pretty elite wide receivers in the third round right now. So that just goes to show that people's mindsets are changing again. Running back over wide receiver, because this is traditional, man. Like, since the beginning of time, running backs have been valued more than wide receivers in that first 2 rounds. So we are doing some tests, and this is just over like last year's data, just to see if this theory holds up and, if this trend is something that we should pay attention to. In my mind, I really want a wide receiver because I had, I forget who I had, like Michael Pittman Jr., Cortland Sutton, Gabe Davis. It was a terrible year for wide receivers for me last season. And so I just want somebody that could just set it and forget it and try to hit later on some other people. Last week we did test number 1. That was seeing how many booms and busts there were in the first 2 rounds, or no, 3 rounds. If you drafted a running back or wide receiver, I think it was 8 busts for running backs, 7 for wide receivers, 2 booms, including Nick Chubb, not Bradley Chubb. I screwed that up last week. Sorry, dude. Shout out to Nick Chubb, who I draft like every single time in the second round, dude. Nick Chubb is an amazing running back, fantasy-wise as well. And then 2 booms for the wide receivers. So like dead even heat, if you're just looking at booms busts last year for early wide receivers and running backs. So then I was thinking test number 2, I do want to see, like, if I think top 25 at a position that's like everybody that's flex worthy, So let's just think about, a starting running back or wide receiver in your lineup all the way down to flex. How many of those did you find late in drafts? So we're looking for people that, how many skill position wide receivers or running backs that were outside the top 25 busted into the top 25 last season. So I was checking this out, and there were 7 people that did that in running backs. Jerick McKinnon, like in some of these, and you'll notice in running backs, like, dude, he was ADP position rank. So he was the 65th running back taken. He finished 21st. So when I'm going over these numbers, that's what I mean. Jamal Williams, dude, 49th taken. He ended up running back number 8. So it's pretty extreme. Tony Pollard, 33, went all the way to 7. Kenneth Walker, number 41, went all the way to 16. Miles Sanders, number 34, went all the way up to 13. Ramondre Stevenson, if you drafted him last season, you know what I'm talking about, man. Like PPR nightmare. 31. He was the 31st running back taken. He ended up all the way at 11, so almost top 10 for Ramondre Stevenson. Devin Singletary barely snuck in there. He was the 36th running back taken. Snuck in there at 24. So there were 7 running backs that you could have drafted late outside the top 25 and been starting worthy for you, all the way up to flex. It could have been your starting flex or whatever. So I thought there would be more in running back, to be honest, but still, you can see some of these extremes, dude. You could find them very late and they can produce, top 25 numbers. So the wide receivers, there are more. There are 9 wide receivers that you found outside the 25 that busted into the 25 last season. And I will say that their extreme is not so high. So, we saw a 65, 49, 41, like 3 40-plus, high ADPs in the running backs being taken. So you could find them extremely late. Here, there's 240. So it's like, Garrett Wilson, he was a 49th wide receiver taken last season. He finished wide receiver 19. So just imagine him second year now with Aaron Rodgers. That's why I'm really like Garrett Wilson this year. Tyler Lockett, 41st wide receiver taken, finished at 13. Devontae Smith, dude. I love Devontae Smith. Like he's probably being undervalued right now. So there you go. 36th all the way up to 10. Busted in the top 10, dude. Devontae Smith, dude. Eagles had like 2 top 10 wide receivers last year. It's crazy. Amari Cooper, who I love this year as well. 33rd, made it all the way to 9. Christian Kirk, drafted a 37th wide receiver, made it all the way up to 11th. Amon-Ra St. Brown, dude. Like, I can't believe he made it all the way to the 28th wide receiver drafted last season. He did. Finishes number 8. Brandon Ayuk. People remember Brandon Ayuk, okay? 35th wide receiver taken last season. He was top 15. So, yeah, Deebo Samuel was injured. He had a down year, but Brandon Ayuk is a person to invest in if you're looking for taking a wide receiver late, because he still might be the 35th wide receiver taken, even though he had that great finish last season. Chris Olave, you're never getting him late again. 45th wide receiver taken. He made it all the way up to 25th. So that's a rookie wide receiver. You can do that if you're gonna. With wide receivers, if they're going to bust in outside the top 25, I always think that rookies have a good chance of that. And then Chris Godwin, he was the 29th ADP, made it all the way to top 20, so that's barely. So here we are seeing the slight advantage go to running backs. So maybe that's what we're thinking here. Like, in our minds, we have found top 10 running backs like in the 8th round, man, 9th round, 10th round, 11th round. Whereas if you're going to find value on wide receivers, it's going to be like in the middle rounds is what I'm seeing here. So like what I'm thinking is I might want to go wide receiver, like first round, if I can get a top elite wide receiver, those like first 3, maybe even 4 with including Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, try to get those. And then maybe try to hit on some wide receivers in the middle, even though that screwed me last year. But it seems to be like you could find value in wide receivers in the middle rounds and then value in running backs late rounds. But still, so we're looking at 7 for the running backs, 9 for the wide receivers. Given running backs, there's only 1 running back per team, where there's 2 wide receivers usually getting production. I just talked about Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So there's more opportunity for wide receivers. I don't know. So far, this is making me rethink. I'm still going to go. I still like that top tier of wide receivers, but as far as the second tier wide receivers, I think I'm going to put some running backs in front of that second tier right now, looking at this data so far. So it is changing my mind. Test number 2 in the books. Test number 3. Oh my God, I had an idea for it. I'm going to look at the championship teams from last season, maybe even last couple seasons, and see what percentage of them had, top tier wide receivers or early drafted wide receivers, early drafted running backs. We need to see what these championship teams have been composed of. I do know that championship teams have had like a top 5 quarterback like every season, dude. And that's why I've been getting screwed. It's because I keep on thinking I could wait on running or on quarterbacks, and it's not been working out well for me there. Even though I'm going to do it again, man, with Aaron Rodgers, dude. If I can get Aaron Rodgers late this year, oh my God, dude, I'm so up on Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson right now. Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this show. If you liked it, please give us a like. Subscribe, man. We are so down right now on subscribers and everything. We're getting like 1 a month. So I know this is a downtime. Tell your friends, man. Hey, they might like us. Anyways, this is Tyler Big Turd Ward, and I appreciate you.